Welcome back, guys. Today we're back at Kamerastore.com with Nuno from Kamerastore.
Hi.
And we are going to be talking about rangefinders. And I think when people think rangefinders, it's usually the German brand with a lot of red on it. But rangefinders are so much more.
Yeah, let's start what actually the rangefinder means. It's, of course, finding the range, the focus distance. So what these cameras actually do, that they use a cam in the lens to move a rangefinder patch between two windows. Here we have the viewing window and the rangefinder window here. So basically what happens here, we have an image and another image here, and when they move in line, it's focused.
Yeah.
So in a way you don't actually see the focus, but you get a confirmation with the rangefinder patch in the camera.
And it's compared to an SLR, which you're seeing through the lens. Here, like Nuno said, you're viewing straight. So everything is always focused, and the only way you can judge is that patch with dual images, which is confusing for a lot of people that are not used to it. And multiple people get these cameras look and they don't get it, and it always looks focused. So if you don't know about the patch, it's hard to get something in focus. But it's brilliant because there's no, it's smaller lenses. There's no vibration basically when you're shooting. There's no mirror slap, and I think that makes them very desirable.
Yeah, these were if you go back to the history, these were the first 35mm press journalist cameras that were very much used in the wartime, for press photographers, for magazine, for everyday. There was a small camera to use and carry, and when the film stocks in the late 40s became more resolution, these were becoming very popular, and this was the popular 35mm system before the SLR system, which we mentioned in another video.
Yeah, and not all cameras have interchangeable lenses, but some do, like the Leicas or like the maybe Contacts or Nikon S's.
Yeah.
We have here two medium format version.
Yeah, we have I think this represents the premium medium format rangefinder, and this was actually a quite late model to be released. So there was a market for rangefinder. It's not a completely dead system. Like we see, Leica is still producing pretty much the same design of camera that they produced in the 50s, and before that of the M series in the 30s of the Barnack series of cameras. So I think the rangefinder system, it's very popular. The brands in the 50s were pretty much every single camera producer
had a couple models, yeah.
Yep.
And then there's some, I think, entry-level fixed lenses with maybe a 40-1.7, like there's some Olympus and there's some Canon QLs 19 and things like that, which are very nice cameras that don't have the price point of the German rangefinders, a medium format, but still give you that experience of shooting rangefinder. And they're very small because of the lack of mirror. Like I said, there's no vibration, usually a leaf shutter inside, which is very nice, or a focal plane. Some focal plane ones don't have a great flash sync, which is a bummer, but then you go, for example, for a medium format that has a leaf shutter and syncs at all speeds. So I think rangefinders are really fun. Tell me a bit about the lenses. Like here we have one that actually is not even a proper rangefinder and has an external viewfinder.
Yeah, I think the disadvantage of this system that, like here on the Leica camera, the actual viewfinder is set to certain focal length. So this M3 is from 50 onwards. So if you're planning to use a wide angle, you have to use an external finder, like we see here on the Voigtlander model. So if you mount let's say a 15mm, you need an external finder, but you can still, with the rangefinder cam, you can actually focus through the camera's viewfinder and then compose with the external finder. It's not an ideal situation, but there are some people who believe in this system.
Oh, and they do great photography. Like Nuno said, as you're not seeing through the lens, there's a limit amount of frame lines on your shot. So the M3 started with that, like 50, 90, 135mm. Then photojournalists started moving to a 35mm focal length, so they made the M2. So if you're getting into it, you want to check if it's an interchangeable lens mount system. which frame lines you want,
Yeah.
which is a little bit confusing at the beginning. But when you really know what you like and you're shooting maybe 28 mil and 50 mil, you know which models you want to buy. If you're using a fixed lens, of course, there's no options, but it's very important to note that, which the external viewfinders make it a little bulky, but this still can be worked. And like you said, that whole idea that the patch still works, because if the lens is, you know, coupled to the rangefinder, then it's fine.
Yep.
Some lenses are not coupled. In the Leica world, at least that I know, I have a snapshot Voigtlander, if I'm not wrong, but they're still very easy to use. And another note that I want to mention is the importance of the hyperfocal. When you're shooting rangefinder,
yep.
many times you're not really shooting for that precision focusing. You're shooting with the fact that you're using hyperfocal. So the lenses always have very clear markings, and you can check, you know, from where to where it's focused, and then just kind of preset the lens. And I mean, I'm on a 90 millimeters, which is probably the last thing you would want to do. But even you're a 28 or a 35, those lines are wider. So you kind of you use that always focus window to just point, compose, and shoot. And like Nuno and me, I think, agree, a composition is sometimes more important than the blur. So you want to be shooting a little stop down.
Yeah, and now that you mentioned about the finder, I think one of the advantages of rangefinder that there's no blackout in the viewfinder, and you can actually, some of the viewfinders are 1-to-1, so you can actually keep your both eyes open. You can see on your other eye what's happening outside the frame, and when it comes to the frame, you can just click and take a shot.
Yeah, and also if you're using frame lines that are a little smaller than the whole window, you can see not only with your open eye, but with the other eye, what's coming into frame.
Yeah.
One thing to note, it's a rangefinder camera, you're not seeing through the lens, so always leave a little wiggle room. You can't compose 100% perfect. For that, maybe better as SLR system. And interchangeable medium format cameras that you would like to mention, because I think there's a couple systems.
A couple. I think the most hyped are the Mamiya line with the Mamiya 6 and Mamiya 7. And yeah.
One of the good things, I think, about the lenses on rangefinders is the fact that there's no mirror. They don't have to be a retro focus system, which makes the wide angles especially superb, because you know, we're not going to get too geeky in this video, but like, they can't really get that glass so close. So there's got a couple, you know, tricks to make it work with like a 21 on a SLR, but a 21 on a rangefinder is superb.
Yeah, and I have to even mention, hopping on that we can actually make a faster wide angles when it's closer to the film plane. There's a 21 f1.4. Of course, the lens technology is catching up. You can make it to a SLR cameras, but it's easier and smaller to produce in the body that has a smaller flange focal distance.
Yeah.
And if you're interested in the rangefinder system, I think you should start with a fixed lens camera like a Yashica Electro 35, because rangefinder is not for everyone. So I think you should try a lower end camera to say if the principle actually work for you before you're invest in this premium camera.
No, I totally agree. I think that when one is trying to think if this is a system for you, rangefinder is just enough of a different format that it doesn't work for everyone. Like, I'm one of those that when I started, I didn't really get it at all. I was very used to SLRs, and it took me a couple of tries of, thankfully, friends lending me M gear, because the M gear is, you know, an investment. Another thing about the M gear is usually you don't lose much money if you buy and sell, which is also important. But I think Nuno's recommendation of starting with a fixed lens rangefinder, getting a feel of it, getting the hang of it, and then if you love it, then save you some money, go for a different camera that maybe is a little better, go for medium format. I think the Mamiya 6 and 7 that you mentioned are superb. There's some Fuji glass too, also the GW line, which is amazing. Texas Leica.
Yeah, good thing that you mentioned there's some beautiful cameras made by the Fujifilm company, that like the GV series. There are some stunning lens in the 6x9. Yeah, you get a 6x9 rangefinder, which is pretty much the same size of this. It's easy to carry around. You're not carrying a bulky system.
Yeah.
You get a huge negative. You get a super sharp lenses.
And it syncs at all speeds with flash, and it eats rolls at a very fast pace. So make sure that if you're getting into 6x9 or 6x7 rangefinders, you know, you're able to keep up with the film because
Yeah.
it's
eight frames per roll. It's pricey, but there's some Fuji models that have 6x4.5. So
yeah,
everything for everyone. Small, big, in between, interchangeable lens, light meterless,
Yeah.
modern, old. This is a niche system, but there is a reason that it's still going on and live.
And I think one thing to mention too that's important, even though it's not into the rangefinder, is many of these lenses also are adaptable to mirrorless. And the mirrorless system, even though it's not rangefinder, it follows that principle of no mirror. And that no mirror lets those lenses get closer. Also, lenses have become a little smaller. And that was the beginning of mirrorless. Now they're starting to do big boys. But I think it's really fun that you can buy these cameras and also use the lenses on mirrorless, and they give that extra render. So yeah, if you are interested in rangefinders, you can check Kamerastore.com. There's a whole article about this at Kamerastore.com. Thank you, Nuno. Let us know what you think about the system in the comments below. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.